Check, 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 check. You're watching the EQs?
The EQs are covered.
All right, Priscilla, go ahead.
What am I supposed to say?
Just check, check, check.
Check.
All right. This is Joey, the pastor.
And this is Priscilla, the pastor's wife.
Whoa, and since I'm a pastor, this is when I say, yeah, and she's smoking hot. Because I wouldn't be a pastor if I didn't say she's smoking hot.
And this is the pastor with no answers.
That's right. All pastors have to say that their wife is smoking hot. So, Priscilla, sometimes on our other podcast, the Bad Christian one, we survey folks and we ask them, hey, who do you want to be on the Bad Christian podcast? And you are one out of the top 3 requested people, the other 2 being Matt's wife and Toby's wife. So given the popularity of the Bad Christian podcast, what made you decide to be on this one when you could have been on that one?
You were desperate. You needed somebody.
Okay, so I don't want to put you on the spot here because you're my wife and I love you and all that stuff. So this is the first podcast you've ever been on, so I want to take it easy on you and just start with some light questions. But first question, our sex life, how has that been in your mind?
Wow.
All right, we'll skip that one. So if you had to choose for me to die or one of our kids, who would you choose? And if it's one of our kids, which one, or does it matter?
I never answer questions for you.
Name your 5 favorite friends of mine.
I don't do that either.
Well, are these 2 guys
Yes.
make the top 10 or the top 5?
They make the top 5.
Whoa, you're going to have the microphone
Sorry.
closer.
Sorry.
So Ted Demas and Ryan Amick make the top 5.
I love them.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, all right. So now let's get to the easier questions. Does it bother you when our Bad Christian listeners call me fat when you know dang well I'm the most fit and best looking out of the 3 Bad Christian guys? Does it bother you?
The fat jokes do not bother me.
The fat jokes don't. Oh, so the insinuation is that some stuff bother you. Okay. Would you trade 3 years of my life, and you can't know when I'm going to die, for 20 more years with your dad? So you knock 3 years off of my life. And so here's the thing. If I'm going to die in the next 3 years, I just die on the spot. If you say yes to this question, yes, I'll take 20 years with my dad and trade 3 years of you. I will die.
I hate these questions.
You're going to have to speak up because you are.
I'm not answering.
You have to speak up. Say that you're not answering in a louder volume.
I'm not answering.
Okay, thank you. Are the EQs okay, Ted?
EQs are okay.
All right. Lastly, how long did it take you to realize that Green Bay and Clemson football games were more important than talking to me? For me.
For you? I mean,
How long did it take you to realize that?
I don't know. It's kind of just.
Polite early on?
If you're going to talk, it's got to be in a microphone.
I said, was he polite early on when he was courting you?
Yeah,
Or
I
was
would
he
say.
always a beehole when it was game time?
All right, so true story or not, you waited to tell me that you were pregnant with our first kid until after the Green Bay Packer game was over.
I forgot about that. That's true.
That's when I
the
feel
answer.
bad. I'm like, you think that I really wanted to wait until after the Packer game to find out that you're pregnant? Like, you seriously waited until the
It's
game was
just
over?
my life.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
used
just
to it.
you're a Corinthians woman, a Proverbs 31. All right, so let's dive in with our friends here, Ryan Amick and Ted Demas. A lot of you guys know Ryan. You've been on here to talk about God and pain. You've also been our token Christian marijuana smoker, so
Yeah.
you were part of that episode. But you don't smoke weed anymore, do you?
I'm not saying I don't actively. I'm not practicing right
All
now.
right, not a practicing pot smoker
Yeah.
Christian. Were there any other episodes that you've been on?
The first gay episode that got erased.
Oh, yeah,
Other
that's
than
right,
that-
because the other person conveniently
Yeah,
lost
yeah,
his
yeah.
file.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
Pastor Joey, I'm sorry. I don't know where that file is.
So basically, whenever Joey needs his token Bernie Sanders demographic voter, he calls me on those issues.
Ted, before I introduce you here, have you listened to any episodes with Ryan on it?
Yes.
Were you disappointed in your friend?
No.
Not at all.
Were you disappointed in his views?
Yes, I'm always disappointed in your views.
that is true. Lastly, Ryan, I don't think I've told anybody, but you sell garbage trucks. How's that ministry going?
Oh, thanks for bringing my real life into this.
How is that ministry going? Because we all know
That
that whatever we
ministry-
do, it's a ministry.
That ministry is going 6 figures.
The people that buy garbage trucks, are they also accepting Christ?
I put a track in the dash pocket of every truck that we deliver.
Okay, good. That's what I like
Actually, I
to
put
hear.
it right in the back of the.
All right, so Ted Demas, you've been a dear friend of mine for, dadgum, like I think 8 years. That's
8 years.
crazy. That's crazy. So I actually wrote down word for word how I'm going to describe you. And Ryan, you get first response with whether or not that's accurate.
Okay.
Then Priscilla gets, so just yes or no. Yes if you think this is 90% accurate.
Okay.
No if you're just like, no, that's totally off. All right. Ted, you hate superficiality, and sometimes that comes across as hating people.
Yes.
You have a very soft heart towards your friends, but you have a hard time expressing that sometimes.
Yes.
You're very smart, contemplative, honest. You obsess over politics and get angered by cultural consensus shared by the ignorant and ill-informed.
Yes.
Yes? Is that 100%?
That's 100% yes.
Yes, that's so true.
All right, so I did a good job. Ted, now, do you agree?
Yes,
All right.
that was very good.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I have papers to pass out for you guys so y'all can kind of keep up.
Thank you.
So, because basically we have some questions. What I like to do, a lot of our listeners are used to this. I like to ask questions. It kind of, no, we'll be able to share. It allows our listeners to kind of see where you guys are at with the topic at hand without me having to ask you. So basically the first 4 questions on a scale of 1 to 5, and you have these papers in front of you so you won't forget. 1 is that this is offensive to even bring it up in this way. 2 is this is very unimportant. 3, neutral importance. 4, important. 5, very important. The first one, the church has to figure out their theology on same-sex attraction, including sexual relations. Why I make that stipulation is because I would say there's hardly any Christians that believe the attraction to the same sex is a sin. No, I honestly have not met anyone to say, "Oh yeah, that's wrong." You can't help what you're attracted to. But so this is including actually saying, yes, I'm going to pursue those relationships sexually. So just to make sure you understand, I just read a statement, and you are responding by saying that's an offensive statement to even bring up. That's unimportant, neutral importance, very important, or I'm sorry, important or very important. Priscilla?
I guess I'm thinking about what this question even really is. I guess I would say very important because of how the church is treating people right now.
Okay. Ryan?
I think it's unimportant because it doesn't really. I just don't think it's going to happen in our lifetime. And so, for the matter of how the church responds, for the matter of this conversation, I think it's completely unimportant.
Unimportant. All right, Ted?
I think it's important. I'll go with a 4.
All right, sounds good. Number 2, the church has to figure out how they, or we will say it to describe the church has to figure out how it will interact with the gay community, especially those that want to be a part of the church.
Yeah, very important.
Ryan?
Yeah, that's a 5, bub.
That's a 5, bub.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Ted?
I'm going to stick with 4.
4? Okay, important. So you're just not an excitable young man. You're just not going to get excited.
He's just not going to go with the grain. He's not going to agree with everyone
Ted doesn't say very about anything. Hey, do you love your wife very much? I mean, I love her. I mean, the hell do you want me to say? I love her, okay? All right, number 3, Christian parents have to figure out how to discuss same-sex relationships with their kids and do it well.
5.
Very important. I'm actually surprised at some of these answers just as far, and I'll explain later. Ryan?
No, I think they'll leave it up to the church like they do everything else.
So, is it important?
I'm kidding. Oh, I think it's, it's important. Yeah, it's important.
Okay. Ted?
I wish that I could explain why I think it's important.
I'll let you, but you just can't be long-winded.
Darn, that took all the wind out of my sails, though. I don't know what to say now.
Okay, I'll give you some freedom to talk.
I think it's important because the culture has foisted it upon parents having to talk about it.
Okay. Okay. And I want to explain why I said I'm surprised. I'm surprised because I would there's a tuba player out there.
I seriously thought she was farting for a second. All right, go ahead.
All right, so the reason that I'm surprised is just I felt like there would be a knee-jerk reaction, especially from Ryan and Priscilla, saying how these questions are even brought up. Like, what is this? What do you have to talk to things about your kids? What are these like crazy people that are an issue that your kids need to be talked about? So I know that that's not how y'all view the issue, but I kind of thought that y'all would be offended by how. So maybe I just wrote these things well. So, all right, question number 4. If people are sinning when they are involved in a same-sex relationship, so I'm not asking you guys to agree with that statement. I'm saying assume that it's true. Mm-hmm. We have to figure out how they can serve in the church, what they can and cannot do. Priscilla?
I'm sorry. Can you skip me? I wasn't paying attention to what you were saying.
Now, I like the honesty. Let me say that again. If people are sinning when they are involved in a same-sex relationship, I'm not asking you to agree or disagree. I'm saying assume that that is true. We have to figure out how they can serve in the church, what they can and cannot do.
Speak up.
Well, I feel like Ted. I feel like that's a long-winded answer.
1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5, please.
God.
I hate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I know, the listeners do too. Just play along.
Yeah, I'm just going to say 3.
3, neutral importance. Okay, wow. So you just don't think that it's important how the churches involve themselves in people that are... wow, I'm surprised, appalled, hurt, shocked, and I can't even think of any other word to describe. No, I'm just kidding. All right, Ryan?
I'm going 1 on that one.
1, offensive to even bring up.
Yeah.
I was expecting some ones soon. Ted? Whoa, I wish this was a video podcast so everybody could have seen the look on Ted's face.
And his God Hates Fags t-shirt.
I just bought this T-shirt. Just try to show it off. I think the context of that question matters, and I don't know.
Okay.
I'm gonna say it's important.
Yeah.
Just because it has to be.
Okay. Okay. So
Trusty 4.
I wanna make a couple more prefaces. I know there'll be some of our people listening saying, "Okay, this is really crazy. You have 4 straight people talking about this." I agree with those sentiments, and at the same time, I don't want to pigeonhole this podcast into having to represent every single perspective. Today, this happens to be 4 people that are very close to each other. We're all friends, so I feel like this is a great position to put ourselves in because I know everybody here will be very open and be very comfortable with each other. So it just so happened that Ted was available, Ryan was available, and Priscilla and I made plans. So like I said, I agree with your sentiments, but I don't think that we're going to be lacking anything here just because that's not necessarily the point of this episode. The point of the episode is just to discuss. All right, so we're going to move to 4 more questions, and then we'll dive into this thing. 1, strongly agree. 1, strongly disagree. 2, disagree. 3, so if you feel any of these things, then you say 3. If you're neutral, undecided, or offended by how the question was asked, all of those are lumped into 3. And then 4, agree. 5, strongly agree. All right, number 1, assuming that these relationships are sinful, this needs to be treated just like any other sin.
Yeah, if it's assuming, then I would say 1. But I am getting annoyed with these questions. I'm sorry.
You would strongly disagree with that?
You do not need to be annoyed at me.
Oh, I'm sorry. 5. I would strongly agree. But I want to get past the 1 through 5s.
Okay, well, just buckle down because we have 3 more. Ryan?
I'll echo Priscilla on that one. 3, but 5.
All right, well, I'm on the edge of my seat to see if Ryan echoes that echo. Are you going to echo Ryan's echo for
Ted.
Priscilla?
Ted echo the echo
Yeah, echo.
of the echo.
Echo.
5.
All right. 5, strongly disagree. Number 2, this needs to stop being seen as an issue in the church. Just shut up about it.
3.
3, neutral, undecided, offended by by how the question was asked. Actually, it wasn't a question; it was a statement. But moving on, Ryan.
I'm a 5, but I'm taking my caveat here. I think that it is an issue in the church, not because of the gay people, but because of the asshole Christians.
Okay,
Not all of them, but because of the ones that happen to be assholes.
gotcha. All right, Ted.
I'm also going to say 5, not because of the asshole Christians, and not because of the gay people,
Because of me.
because of Ryan.
All right, number 3. I understand why people think it's a sin. Again, the sin being taking part physically in same-sex sexual relationships. I understand why people think it's a sin. So this has nothing to do with what you believe. This is saying, do you understand why other people would think it's a sin?
I understand why Christians that read their Bible literally think it's a sin.
Ryan?
Yeah, I strongly agree with that.
Okay.
I strongly agree with that as well, but
All
I
right.
just noticed that you
did
have a
wrote
typo
disagree.
on.
Yeah, you wrote disagree for 5 and 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, has that,
So do we
has
not
that
have
messed your answers up?
No.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
All right. The church has mishandled their responsibility to show love to the homosexual community.
Yeah, I strongly agree.
Yeah, of course, I strongly agree.
I disagree.
All right, disagree. All right, so the first thing that I want to throw out to you guys, and this is a free-for-all. We don't have to take turns anymore, and I'll just go ahead and tell our listeners that Priscilla and I are sharing a microphone, so her and I will be working together, so I'm going to ask my sweet wife to kind of make sure that she's talking in a microphone, even if there is a slight pause in the conversation. The first thing I want to bring up is, should we even be talking about this? And why I asked this question, and I'm going to put in a plug for my buddy Preston Sprinkle, wrote a book called People to Be Loved, and it's definitely a must-read, just came out recently. But he would be someone who is very smart with his Bible, and he believes that homosexuality, he's dissected it, and he's just like, I'm pretty sure the Bible says that it's a sin, and he also sees the Bible as inerrant. Now, he kicks the ass of the church and says, you guys are, the church that I'm a part of, the church that Preston's a part of, I mean, he puts the church in its place. So he speaks, the book is more than anything about the church is fumbling this issue, and it's ridiculous. But the thing that he said that I came away from is, this isn't an issue. Like, stop talking about it like it's an issue. This is people. So this is what I loved. He said, when people come to him and say, hey, what do you think about the homosexuality issue? Which, by the way, I've talked to a gay friend of mine who's a Christian, and he actually told me that the terminology homosexuality is offensive.
Homosexual.
Homosexuals.
Homosexuals,
Saying
homosexuality,
homosexual.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
all that stuff. He said that's offensive, and I was just like, well, why? And he said because a lot of the pastors are just like, and the homosexuals and homosexuality and stuff.
That's not what they say in my church.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks, Ryan.
Damned be the queers.
But anyway, he actually said, when someone asks him what does he think about that issue, his response is, who are you talking about? Like, what person are you talking about? Because he sees it as, I know these people. I don't want to just talk about it as this issue that doesn't deeply affect people, their loved ones, and all that stuff. So he won't even embark on the conversation in that way. So with that context in mind, do you think it's offensive that we're even having this conversation? Should we be having this conversation?
I of course, I think there's no conversation that we should shy away from. Not because I don't think it's an issue, and not because I think it's an issue, but because why not talk about it?
But what do you think about the fact that if we have 10 conversations, at least 2 or 3 of them are going to end up touching on the homosexual issue at some point? What do you think about the idea that we talk about it so much?
Why do you have to be so offensive?
I'm asking you a serious question, Ted. I'd like a serious answer.
What was the question again?
I just say, like, it is at the forefront of the church's dialogue as a group. You know what I mean? Like, every church is having this conversation. Every church is not necessarily having conversations about worrying and overeating and gossip. You know what I mean? We're saying it in passing, but we're not having podcasts on the topic.
Yeah, but I think it's important because the reason we're having those conversations, at least in my opinion, that I want to have them is because of how poorly people are being treated.
Agreed.
So if somebody is overeating or whatever else that you just said, we don't really treat them that poorly, but we do treat people poorly if they're gay.
No, I agree. So what was the original question?
The original question, I think you guys addressed it. I mean, should we be talking about this? Do you think for some people that, okay, they see this subject pop up on the Pastor with No Answer feed and they roll their eyes and they're just like,
Sure.
Good Lord, please stop talking about this.
Sure. I mean, it sucks that we have to keep talking about this. It really does.
But you believe that we do need to.
Sure. I mean, to me, I look at it almost like, maybe I might regret this analogy, but almost like affirmative action. Like, I think in this day and age, affirmative action sucks, but it's a necessary evil because we f***ed it up so bad the first go round. You know what I mean?
I disagree
We've
with
got
that.
to swing the pendulum so hard the other way to try to, make up for our initial follies.
All right, Ted, chime in. You disagree?
Sorry, my mind is half here.
That's typical. We're used to it, but I need you to engage in the
I'm
conversation.
checking out the EQs for you, Joey. I disagree with that. Well, the affirmative action part, just because it has personally affected me in my career,
Right.
and has kind of.
But that's my point, is that it sucks now, but it was a necessary evil in its time because we never would have gotten to the point that we're at now without
You're
it.
talking to like probably the most politically conservative person I've ever met when it
know.
comes to those sorts of issues.
Oh, I know.
Ted's like, no, it's just evil. Affirmative action's evil. It's not a necessary
I just
evil.
looked over and Ted was actually deleting me out of his phone.
I think that everything you can argue has its time, but that time has passed, I think.
On the gay conversation?
No,
okay.
on the affirmative action still specifically.
I agree.
Hey, last time I checked, when I emailed you guys earlier in the week, I didn't say this. Hey, do y'all want to come on and talk about affirmative action? Just reminding y'all.
All right, good deal.
All right, next topic.
I told you I'd regret that reference.
All right, what do you think about the following statement? God wouldn't want me to be alone. He's a loving God, and he wants me to have the same gift of sexual intimacy as heterosexuals have.
I think that if you sit through a year's worth of sermons at my church, then you would probably say that, but I don't think that's necessarily true. I think the church idolizes marriage in such a way that it makes that it basically reinforces that idea in people's heads. And so to feel that way, I think is completely natural in this culture. But to say that that's a truth of God, that God wants everybody to have someone, I don't think that's true. I think Scripture clearly walks against that in certain points. Do we agree?
We agree.
Hot damn.
Nice job. Yeah. No, I was just going to say I think, what's the basis for anybody saying, I think God wants this for me?
Exactly. I think it falls under the God doesn't know us a damn thing
Right.
category.
Well, I don't think God's number one agenda for us is happiness. So let me say this, and again, a lot of this is coming from Preston's book. He actually spoke on behalf of the gay community that he knows personally, people that he's talked to, and there are gay people that are Christians that do believe that it's a sin, and they actually say, please don't tell me that I cannot be happy outside of sex.
Agreed.
They're just like, that is offensive. Like, I am happy because I have close relationships with people, and I don't need to have sex with them for those to be fulfilling relationships. And secondly, please don't tell me that I can't be happy outside of sex, because that actually is offensive for what you're saying about my relationship with God.
Rock
like
on.
God is. So
agree.
I'm quoting other people. Like how do y'all feel about that?
I love those people, and not that I don't love other people, but I especially love that sentiment because we all want to label ourselves and define ourselves and identify ourselves by a label, whether it's gay or straight or I'm a hunter or I'm a whatever. I don't know. I bowl. That's my identity. But that's not who we are. We are humans with multifaceted personalities, and that's why this issue really irks me because the gay.
What issue doesn't?
That is true.
Well, true.
What
Touche.
issue that
I
I
want to
care
see
about
Ted
doesn't.
get set off. Obama is a great president.
Not saying anything.
Hey, he inherited a mess, guys.
Go ahead, Ted. Though I'm sorry I cut you off.
I don't remember what I was going to say now.
I apologize.
No, but I agree. I mean, I wish that I had that mentality. I could tell you if I was gay, I would not be able to go there. I mean, I would like that sentiment, but I'm not strong enough for that. Not at this point. So I applaud
Well, how do
people
you
like that.
identify yourself?
As a garbage truck sales rep.
That's it?
That's my number one identity. That's who I am. When I go to bed, when I wake up.
I don't believe that.
No. I seriously?
Seriously.
I identify myself. I don't know. I don't necessarily identify myself as a Christian, although I do. I wish I did. You know what I'm saying? Like I wish I found more of my identity in Christ. I identify myself as being as more characteristics than a thing. Does that make sense? But are you asking me what I honestly respond to when people say like, so what
I'm
do you-
saying,
what do you do?
can you relate to being so rabidly one issue that you wrap your whole life up in that issue?
No, but it's easy for me because my identity is a non-issue. When you're heterosexual, it is a non-issue.
Yeah, I agree with Ryan. I think that if you're gay, you are discriminated against a lot, especially from the church. And so,
All right, so what do you think about the following statement? God wouldn't want me to be alone. He's a loving God, and he wants me to be able to have the same gift of sexual intimacy as heterosexuals have. So in other words, God wants me to be happy, and so he would not make me have to withhold myself from being in sexual relationships because I have the wrong attraction.
yeah, I kind of feel the same as Ryan. I'm not sure what I think of that either. I think that I feel like we should treat them the same and maybe even consider that they can have the same kind of relationships and not be looked down upon. I guess I don't know what I think about God wouldn't have made me this way or whatever. I guess I haven't.
Well,
thought about it like that.
would this be offensive? Let's take it to a different level. What if someone said, you know what, this is just ridiculous, that someone gay would say, man, God would never make me this way if it was a sin to act on these thoughts. And then someone's response was, well, wait a second, God makes blind people, and those blind people cannot see for the rest of their lives.
I've actually got a much better analogy, if you don't mind. And I actually use this argument, arguing kind of the gay affirmative stance with a friend of mine who is gay. And she politely pointed out that God wired me up to be very visual towards women and to be very prone to lust. And I have to fight against that every day. So that used to be my argument, that God wouldn't make gay people and set them up for failure like that. You know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, I can't stick with that argument anymore because it doesn't hold water, because God set me up to be uber lusty, I guess you would say. I actually just made eye contact with your sister when I said that, which was really creepy. I'm sorry to you, Crystal. I'm sorry to my wife, who I love very much. But anyway, God made me a grease ball, you know what I mean? God made me a creepy son of a bitch, and I got to deal with that. You know what I mean? I cannot give into that. I can't just say, well, God made me like this. This is who I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not an excuse. So,
Well, I'm going to Priscilla, I hope you don't mind me doing this, but I'm going to speak for you, and I want you to explain. When I say that kind of stuff, you are offended. So basically, I have said to you, all right, look, I understand the debate of whether or not homosexuality and acting on those feelings. I understand the debate of whether or not it's a sin. But if it is, then there's no difference in asking them to withhold from that as it is for Joey to withhold from porn and cheating on my wife. And you would say that's the most ridiculous notion I ever heard.
Yeah, I just don't see it as the same. I guess, so when you and I have gotten in arguments like this before, sorry. Okay, so when we talk about this and we get in arguments about this, I think the reason I get so upset is you compare a gay person to someone like struggling with alcohol or somebody struggling with lust, and I feel like when somebody is gay and we're telling them they can't be with someone they want to be with, it's like me telling you, well, you can't be with a woman. And so I know that it's not all wrapped up in sex, but just it's sort of everything that they feel they have to not be able to do, where we can see if you have a hard time with alcohol and you're addicted to it, you can see the damage of that. I don't know if I necessarily see the damage of someone just being gay. Yeah,
I can see that. And I can see how that's why this discussion can potentially just offend anybody, because I totally get all those notions. But my thing is, I don't like the God wants me to be happy thing, because one of my cousins, you're well aware of, had muscular dystrophy at an early age, so he never did get to experience a natural sexual relationship with anyone, and he was wired heterosexually. He didn't get that either. So there's a lot of people, and whether it's a sin or not, we haven't even gone there, but there's a lot of people that have to go their whole lives without sex.
Are we kind of debating whether God would be a dick if that was the case? You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously, like would we judge God if like, let's say God comes down tomorrow and has a press conference and says, guess what? The whole gay thing, it is sin. Deal with it.
Would he do his shoulders like that?
All sassy.
I'm saying, like, if he did say that, would we say, like, man, you're such a jerk? Like, I can't believe, would we judge him for that? Is that kind of what the question's getting at?
I mean, at that point, that you can take the question there.
See, like, in my opinion, I just feel like, for me, I feel like I don't know for sure if that's how God feels about it or not. So I think because I don't know for sure, then I don't want to take such a hard stand on it. Yeah. I don't think it's worth it. It's just not worth it. So if I'm wrong, well, at least I loved people, because it breaks my heart to see how gay people are treated, especially in the church. They should not be rejected the way that they are and treated less and told that everything that they've always felt, even as like a young child, that they have to deny all those feelings. I think that's terrible. Now, if God really is like, well, that, yes, I was very literal in that, and it really is a sin, then I would just say, I'm really sorry. I just couldn't understand it in my human mind when I was on earth.
Well,
that's just how I feel about that.
Let me ask this real quick. Can someone express, I believe it's a sin, and still be loving? It seems like you're pairing the two, that those are mutually exclusive. You can't go on the record and say that's a sin. In fact, and I know Ted wants to get on this, in fact, there's someone that I talked to be on this podcast, and she actually said that there's job implications because of where she stands on this issue, and her point of view is she believes it's a sin, and I know her to be a very loving person to anyone, gay or straight, but she said, I can't go on the record and say that I believe it's a sin because I could get fired. Well, do you think that's unloving just to say, hey, this is just what I think, I'm sorry, I wish that it wasn't?
Well, I think that's sort of unfair, but I can understand why, too. I think depending on what your job is in the realm of influence that you have, it can be confusing to people.
Wait, you're saying it's unfair? You're saying it's unfair that they couldn't come on and say that? Or it's unfair that they think it's a sin?
It's unfair that they couldn't come on and say it, but I also understand why they can't either, because of just how ridiculous some people are and how they are treated. I understand how people have to be extreme. I don't know if it's fair, but I get it too.
Can somebody explain to me how what this treatment is that we're talking about?
What do you mean?
Like, everybody keeps talking about how gay people are treated, and I would like to know concretely what this is, because I don't live in a culture where I see that. I've had gay roommates and gay friends, and it just wasn't a reality of the life that I saw they lived.
Well, I think Joey and I, just being in church and leadership and ministry and that sort of thing, I think it's very unfortunate. I sometimes get worried if we're going to have someone who is gay that wants to lead a small group. I get a little worried because I'm like, I think it could be okay, but I feel like I'm afraid would I get Joey fired saying that? I mean, that's kind of a scary thing to do because the church feels like that's not okay. And so I think that's unfair that we have to sit here and think that way. I mean, I will ask people, do you think that a gay person can love Jesus? I will ask Christians that because so many Christians talk in a way that they don't think that. I don't know.
Yeah, and they'll say yes, and then there has to be a follow-up. That's what I don't like. I don't like the necessary follow-up.
Go ahead. I was going to say, what if we were having the same conversation about gingers?
Gingers?
Spoiler alert, Ted's a big ginger. What if we were having this conversation like that? And no, I'm being serious. What if you came to Seacoast? Can I say their name on this podcast?
I don't know who you're talking about.
Seacoast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What if you came to Seacoast Church, which is a church that I attend, which is a church that I tithe to, that I love, that I pour out into, quote unquote.
You love on people at Seacoast?
I love on people. I come around and do that joke. All right. So what if you came to Seacoast and said, you know what, I really want to be a part of this. I'd like to volunteer in the children's ministry to teach Sunday school to kids. And they said, okay, great, here's a form to fill out because, we gotta protect our kids. And what if that form actually had a clause on it that you had to check that said, as long as you're not a ginger, you can serve here? Mm-hmm. How offensive would that be? Like, that's who you are. You can't control it, yet they will not let you, because we all know that gingers are the next best thing to pedophiles. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like it's not like so because ridiculous. You're a ginger, you're going to go in class and start talking about ginger hair and ginger people and how they're the best, and everyone should be.
I don't even know what ginger. Souls. What are you talking about?
Red hair.
Red-haired people.
That's a ginger?
Okay,
go ahead.
We're
Ted.
not gingers. Ryan is. He's off his.
You're totally.
Well, okay, so thank you for those examples. That's what I was looking for. All right, say that again. Okay. Seacoast really does have that form.
But Seacoast, I honestly, I really didn't know that until today. Seacoast has a box on their form to serve for children's ministry that says you cannot serve here if you are in a same-sex relationship.
I don't think you're right.
That is 100% true. I had a person that goes to this church tell me that, who is gay, who said that at the time that she signed the form, she was allowed to serve.
How long ago was this?
This was 3 years ago.
Okay, all those forms have been changed.
That very well may be true, but the point is that at that point we were still a fairly liberal, not liberal, but we were a pretty mainstream.
Okay, I don't
church.
mind you saying any of that, but I'm going to go on the record to say I'm pretty sure that the form did not say if you are gay you cannot. I think that it was proposed as, how do you feel about this issue? And maybe she checked, I don't have an issue with it, and then she talked to someone, and then there was issue. But I'm almost positive it was not on the form. You can't serve here if you're gay.
But I guess let's not get mired down in that. Can we all agree that there are a large numbers, maybe even the lion's share of churches, that would not let a practicing homosexual teach a children's Bible study?
I would say all of the non-affirming churches would not.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that gets to my point.
My point is, okay, that might be true, but is that worth vilifying all of Christianity?
What might be true?
That non-affirming churches, as you put it, won't allow gay people to lead a children's.
So you're saying, what's the big deal with that?
Yeah, see, I think it's a big deal. Okay, so let's give an example.
Like let me say this: if we were in the Middle East, gay people would be blindfolded and pushed off the roofs of buildings. And and you don't have anybody in the gay community in the U.S. talking about that, as far as I know. But the issue of a church, a private organization, just having their own rules about what people they do and do want and do not want, around their kids or whatever. I don't understand why that is treated as if, we're going and slashing the necks of gay people.
No, we're still just trying to answer your original question: is how in this day and age do you see it that the church is mistreating homosexuals? And
Okay,
that's a good example.
Yeah, it is a good example. I mean, let's say Joey and I stay here where we're at for the next 20 years, and our son William grows up in this church, and let's say he comes out and he's gay, and then we're like, yeah, you can't serve in children's ministry because you're gay. I mean, that would make me so sad as a parent for William, because I'm like, he can't help how he feels, and I know him so well. He's not gonna go and try to make other kids gay.
William is gonna be so pissed at you.
I
when
know.
He grows up.
That's what I used
Mom!
his name, but I'm making it personal because I just feel like that's so sad to. I feel like there's fear attached to that. So if we have that on a form, then we're afraid that they're going to do something to a kid, or we're afraid they're going to put their beliefs on our people. And I just
here's
think
what
that's sad.
Here's where Priscilla and I have trouble, because I would say I am at the most, and we'll get to a place where we can explain exactly where we're at. I would say I'm at probably the most liberal position I've ever had on all of this. But I think where Priscilla and I really butt heads is, how can you not understand that if someone truly believes that it's a sin, then William saying, I'm gay, they're just like, all right, look, you're saying you're gay, and you're accepting this lifestyle, and you're walking this lifestyle out. You just can't be teaching kids and stuff. I don't believe that. But I'm saying I totally understand where someone else would come from, and then you don't like when I jump to, well, what if there was someone that says, hey, I do such and such a bad stuff, and I'm okay with that. And you say, yeah, but you can't make the comparison. This is how someone's born. I get all that. But if the person believes it's a sin, at some point you have to say, okay, all of this stuff is lumped into sin.
Can I give you one analogy to work off of for the...
Sure.
Have we ever told someone that they could not lead a children's ministry because they were divorced and remarried?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
No. But I'm saying there's a problem there.
Okay, well, that's fine. Like, if you were going to do an across the board of, do you have any unrepentant sin in your life that anyone might be able to take issue with, you're not suitable to serve in our community, then that'd be fine, but you'd be doing everything by yourself.
Right. And I agree with you, by the way. I think I have more understanding for people that would say, no, I just understand where they're coming from.
And I agree as
I'm
well.
the good guy. I'm a really good guy.
But I think you can make an argument that there is a big difference between a divorced person and a gay person, in that being gay is explicitly a sexual thing.
Yeah, I don't think it's explicitly sexual.
And being remarried is an explicitly sexual thing if being gay is an explicitly sexual thing.
I disagree. I disagree with that.
What do you do when you're married? You have sex.
Yeah,
Right.
You don't have sex, but...
Yeah.
Well, actually, you stop having sex.
But now that gay people
Sorry.
are getting married,
Michelle.
then they're clearly not having sex
If
anymore.
Liz
so
wants to
problem
talk, we
solved.
give her a microphone. I
Yes.
have no problem with Liz talking, but she has to have a microphone.
So that's all I was going to say. I mean, I don't remember.
Okay,
where I was going with
so Ted's in my top 5 favorite friends of Joey, but I want to disagree with you. Not anymore. No, you still are. But I will say that offended me that you said it's explicitly sexual, because
what is attraction? What is attraction other than a sexual
But
desire?
I'm a married woman that volunteers in children's ministry, and I hope that everyone doesn't look at me as like I'm explicitly sexual.
See,
Joey-
I actually think this is the difference between male and female, because I don't want a romantic relationship with a woman if I can't eventually have sex with her. I don't think a woman thinks that way. I think a woman is just like, I would love to spend the rest of my life with her, and if I can't get sexual pleasure out of the deal, I don't care. I love this girl, and I want to be romantically invested. A guy, I'm just like, if I can't do her, I don't want romance.
Is that
I can't.
all right? I'm gonna get over that. I'm gonna get over this, and I'm gonna let Ryan go.
No, you're good. But I'm gonna replay this piece of audio for you one day when Priscilla gets cancer and her vagina falls off. I'm gonna play it for you and her. And see how that works.
No, wait a second. You're totally taking it out of context.
I'm kidding. But
so in other words, I wouldn't be married to Priscilla if she said, "Hey, you know what? I want to be with you forever, and let's have romance, but I'm never gonna have sex with you." I would just be like, okay, well, I would love to have some sort of a friendship with you, but I'm going to find a woman that I can be married to and have sex with. I do think that's a male and female difference, and I don't want to lump all the males together and all the females. I'm sure there's some males that would say, no, I could live happily ever after without having sex. I think that's few and far in between, but and I'm sure there's exceptions to the rules of females too, but I think a female could say that genuinely. I cannot. I want to have sex. Please give her a microphone. This is Liz Miller, folks. She was the widow that took up part 1 and part 2 the last couple of weeks, talking about her husband who has passed away. But now she is chiming into the same-sex attraction discussion because she is not identified by being a widow. That is not her identity. So she can talk on other issues as well. Please pass the microphone back to Liz.
Now you messed her up. She's dying laughing. She can't even talk. Good job, Joey.
She does not have to be identified by being a widow.
I didn't even hear what you said.
It's not.
Give her the daggone microphone.
She said it's not exclusive to that. And
it's
I
not
totally
exclusive
agree.
to what?
Sex is a part of marriage and a part of being somebody who is gay or somebody who is straight, but it's not exclusive to that. So it's offensive for people to hear somebody like Theodore Demas to say that
That's
it's
a pseudonym, by the way.
he lives at blah, 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 for him to say that it is an exclusively sexual thing, because that insinuates that when Priscilla goes in, that she is, putting off all these sexual pheromones to these children because she's heterosexual, and that's
but
not
the difference
case.
is that Priscilla, and I would say that most heterosexual people are not what's the way to say it? Are not flamboyant about being heterosexual.
There's many gay people that are not flamboyant. You just
And
haven't
maybe
met them.
that's
Do you
just-
have any friends that are gay that are not flamboyant?
And let me paint a
Ryan.
picture. Let me paint like this is a perfect like Alfred Hitchcock episode where the entire world is gay and the straight guy sticks out like a sore thumb, and everybody's like, why does he act so straight all the time? You know what I mean? My point is that maybe there even is a physiological gene there that links gay to flamboyancy in men.
Hey, but
Flamboyant was the wrong word to use. I wasn't talking about like, oh my God, I'm gay, that kind of thing.
Inoffensive. Now we are.
I was specifically talking about a person identifying, like living their identity through their sexuality.
right.
And that I see in the majority of gay people I know. I know not every gay person is like that.
Before Ted is made out to be this really bad guy.
We love Ted. All of us love Ted.
I know, but one of my closest friends in college came out of the closet, and we had lost contact for, I'd say, about a couple years, and then I hooked up with him on
On Grindr.
I hooked up with him on Facebook in a conversation.
The relationship status went too complicated.
Exactly. So anyway, I asked him, I said, look, you and I are friends. We have talked. I was like, you helped me through being heartbroken over who is now my wife. We have driven up the East Coast together. We have shared things about each other that other people don't know. I said, I can ask you this. Why is it that when you came out on the closet, you immediately became very sexually perverted on Facebook. You said things that were super uncharacteristic of you. You never talked that way publicly, and
because
then all of a
he was
sudden,
suppressed
all of a
for
sudden,
so many years.
that's exactly what he said. So all I'm saying is, from Ted's perspective, I'm sure he's come into contact with a lot of people that are just like, it seems to be a very sexual thing. And I don't think that's totally unfounded. Now, what I think Liz and Priscilla are saying, that is not 100%. And I would say, sure, it's probably not even half of it. But a lot of what gains attention from the media and from our eyes, just in general, we see the people that are drawing attention to themselves. So I don't think that's crazy for Ted to say that.
And I'm not saying this because I am so staunchly anti-gay or anything like that. I'm saying this just because
your wife became gay after being married to you for 3 years.
That's true.
I mean,
my wife is now actually a man.
right.
And never. What I'm saying is just that there are. I feel like somebody needs to try to come up with a legitimate rationale, because I think there are legitimate rationales. It's not just evil Christians who hate gay people,
right,
that are trying to discriminate at any chance they can.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And I think that is a fallacy, and I don't want that to be promulgated everywhere with every Christian that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. Well, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed that as much as I did, hanging out with my wife and two of my closest buddies in the whole world. Chilling, talking about, kind of the more surfacey stuff, the stuff that just, doesn't cause a whole lot of tension in the church and isn't offensive to anyone. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that it wasn't so boring just because it just wasn't delicate information. If it was, then maybe you're not going to enjoy episode 2, which will be coming next week as the conversation continues. We actually get into some even more trivial stuff and just things that are even less significant. And, it's just one of those things. It's just these next 2 episodes, you just have to bear through that we're talking about something that's just not that controversial. So I would love for you to go to pastorwithnoanswers.com and, just tune on in there. Go to our Facebook through there, our Twitter, and you can even go to our contribute section through our website and check out our perks, see if anything floats your boat, give us some money. If not, keep listening to this stuff for free. We appreciate your listenership. You guys have a good one.